Hello, everyone. Good evening. Good evening to our friends in Indonesia, and good afternoon, our friends in the UK. Welcome to another session of Culture Connect Us Online Festival Volume 2. With today's menu of film screening and discussions with our artists with a project entitled Susur Jalin. We just watched the introduction of our festivals. Now we're gonna watch the trailer of our project. Here we go.
A series of performances presented by Theatr Nanog as a collaboration between Wales and Indonesia. The performances are written and produced by Ioan Hefin Daisy Williams, Abdi Karya, and Safira Devi Amorita. Please be seated. The show will start in a few moments. Selamat datang di Susur Jalin, sebuah rangkaian pertunjukan persembahan dari Theatr Nanog sebagai sebuah kolaborasi antara Wales dan Indonesia. Karya ini ditulis dan diproduksi oleh Ioan Hefin Daisy Williams, Abdi Karya, dan Safira Devi Amorita. Penonton harap duduk dengan nyaman. Pertunjukan akan segera dimulai.
Dunia berputar perlahan. Tidak perlahan, cepat. Lebih cepat dari yang dapat kita pahami. Its power radiating across the universe. Water, fire, ice and flames. Seas, rivers, deserts and plains.
Y diwrnodau a'r blynyddoedd yn ymestyn i'r eithaf. How small it may seem, but oh, how very big, how very free.
It contradicts from day to day. We hear messages that always change. Yes, no, now, then. Hourly by minute, the message bends. A message. Yn cysylltu. Beep, beep, beep.
It is not always heard anymore, but read on a screen.
But oh, what lovely faces there are to see. And when we cannot connect so easily, how lucky we are to stream.
Here is Ioan, Daisy, Safira, Abdi. 4 people, all different, but connected by a theme.
The theme of story, of sharing, rani.
Bagikan,
Of listening, gwrando.
mendengarkan.
And how wonderful the threads that connect us. Here to connect. Cysylltu.
Menjalin, to tell our stories and show how they're entwined.
I gynnal pwyth.
Susur Jalin,
You see,
The invisible threads are the strongest ties.
Enw I yw Mererid a dwi angen eich help chi. Dwi ar fin cychwyn ar fy nhasg cyntaf fel swyddog arbennig Cantref Gwaelod. Ac mae'n un mawr. Achub y byd. Nawr, efallai eich bod chi wedi clywed am Cantref Gwaelod. Y ddinas gwneud boddi mewn storm anferth amser maith yn ôl. Cododd lefel y môr yn araf, tan bod y dŵr mor uchel ei fod yn rhoi straen ar y wal. Roedd y bobl wedi cael ei rybuddio. Bydd rhaid iddyn nhw symud. Na fydd y wal yn dal dŵr y môr allan am lawer drech. Ond, ni wrandodd y brenin gwyddno ar y rybuddion, ac un noson stormus, fe rwygodd y môr drwy'r wal a boddwyd y ddinas. Ond, mae gen I gyfrinach. Mae'r ddinas yno o hyd yn cuddio o dan y dŵr. Daeth y pobl at ei gilydd I sefydlu criw o swyddogion I edrych ar ôl y byd a gwneud yn siŵr bod hyn byth yn digwydd eto. Os ydych chi'n gwrando'n astyd, gallwch chi'n clywed y clychen canu. Nawr, maen nhw'n rybyddio'r swyddogion pan bod yna argyfwng rhywle yn y byd ac I fynd I helpu. Dyn ni wedi fod yn edrych ar ôl Cymru a gweddill y byd am canrifoedd nawr. Ond mae gyda ni broblem. Does dim digon o swyddogion I edrych ar ôl y holl broblemau. Felly dwi yma heddiw I ffeindio tîm newydd. Criw o oedolion y gallu'n helpu ni. Mae'r byd yn cynhesu, y moroedd yn codi, llygredd yn cynyddu a mwy o sbwriel yn cael ei taflu i'r môr. Dyn ni'n gwneud ein gorau I arafu'r broses hyd yn hyn. Ond mae'n mynd yn anoddach ac anoddach bob dydd. Ond mae yna obaith. Os ydyn ni'n gallu ffeindio tîm o swyddogion newydd. Felly, banta ni. Helo pawb. Y pethau'n wath o'n i'n feddwl. Fi 'di gweld, mae pobl yn mynd can milltir yr awr yn eu ceir, a mae yna sbwriel ym mhobman, mae pobl yn taflu fe, a mae cwpl o'r strydoedd wedi dechrau boddi fel mae'r dŵr yn cymryd dros oherwydd mae 'di fod yn glawio cymaint heddi. Chi'n clywed? Sa'n ffeindio neb I fod yn swyddog addas eto. Fi'n meddwl fi'n mynd I alw swyddog Safira I weld sut mae hi'n neud. Mae hi mas yn Indonesia ar y funud, wneud yr un peth â fi. A fi jyst yn gobeithio mae hi wedi dod o hyd I rywun, a bod newyddion well 'da hi.
Halo Agen Mererid, bagaimana kabar di Welsh?
Ddim yn dda yn anffodus. Sa'n di ffeindio neb I fod yn swyddog. Beth am ti?
Saya punya beberapa kabar baik. Kami mungkin saja menemukan beberapa agen yang cocok.
Pwy?
Kami mulai memperhatikan kelompok yang selama ini kita semua hiraukan, yaitu orang-orang muda.
Pobl ifanc?
Iya, saya akan mengirimkan detailnya kepadamu.
O, mae hynny'n newyddion wych. Diolch, Safira. Helo pawb. Fel ydych chi'n gwybod, heddiw dwi wedi bod ar fy nhasg cyntaf fel swyddog Cantref Gwaelod. A nes I ddigaloni, mae rhaid I mi ddweud, gweld y sbwriel I gyd a gymaint o pobl yn ei ceir, a nes I ffili dod o hyd I unrhyw un bydd yn addas fod yn swyddog. Hynny yw, tan I rhywbeth anhygoel ddigwydd. Nes I siarad gyda swyddog Safira a oedd hi 'di sylweddoli bod ni 'di anghofio am grŵp o bobl. Grŵp pwysig iawn. Pobl ifanc. Maen nhw 'di fod yn dawel bach, fel swyddog yn Cantref Gwaelod, 'di fod yn amddiffyn y byd. Maen nhw 'di fod yn adeiladu tai yn yr ardd ar gyfer eu anfeiliaid, 'di fod yn defnyddio llai o egni, 'di fod yn ailgylchu, a 'di codi llais pan bod oedolion yn gwneud pethau'n gwael. Heb sôn am y pethau eraill I gyd. Mae popeth fi 'di gweld 'di ysbrydoli a rhoi gobaith I ni eto. Felly diolch. Diolch o galon I bob person ifanc sydd wedi fod yn frwydro dros byd well. A mae gen I gwestiwn I chi. Hoffech chi fod yn swyddogion Cantref Gwaelod? Byddwn ni wrth fy modd os byddech chi'n ymuno gyda ni. Gyd mae'n chi'n neud yw cario ymlaen. Cario ymlaen I ailgylchu, I defnyddio llai o egni, i'ch codi'ch llais, a meddwl am pethau newydd gallwn ni wneud I helpu'r byd. O, a cadw'r llyged ar yr oedolion. Mae angen iddyn nhw siapo lan. Hwyl am y tro, swyddogion. Mae 'di fod yn bleser siarad gyda chi heddi. A chofiwch, peidiwch a dweud wrth neb bod Cantref Gwaelod dal yno o hyd. Yn dawel bach, yn edrych ar ôl y byd.
Yay! Terima kasih. Yeah, thank you. We just watched a story by Daisy Williams. But before we start our discussions with the speakers today, I'll explain briefly first about Culture Connects Us Festival. Culture Connects Us Festival Volume 2 is an online festival organized by British Council as a response to recent pandemic. And we wish to support British Council partners in the UK and Indonesia, as well as a larger public to stay connected, work together, and access cultural and educational initiatives amidst the pandemic. For the past weeks, Culture Connects Us Volume 2 has been organizing diverse collaboration and initiatives digitally under the theme of inclusive society and social creative entrepreneurship education, youth, science, English, arts and culture. Today is the closing of Culture Connects Us. We are celebrating a collaborative work called Tracing the Thread, a virtual storytelling project for children and their families written and produced by Theatr and Indonesian artists. The project is a continuation of the partnership between the two cultures of Wales and Indonesia through audio-visual feeds of stories, encompassing the themes of language, diversity, and the lessons of the past to protect our planet and each other. To know more about what the project is and who's involved, I'll pass the lead to my dear friends, saudara saya, Ioan Hefin. Saudara Ioan, tabe, silahkan.
Thank you very much, Abdi. Yes, Susur Jalin, Tracing the Thread, Invisible Threads, probably started as something following the visit of Theatr to Makassar, to Indonesia in November 2019, where the first time we met with Abdi and Safira. And at that time, we couldn't anticipate what would be happening in 2020. But this has given us an opportunity to maintain the connection and to keep the collaboration going between Wales and Theatr Nanog and Indonesia. And probably there isn't a better title than Culture Connects Us, which is part of this British Council, because it really does. And that personally is what I gained from the visit to Indonesia, is the realization of our similarities and how close we are and the proximity that we have. Even though we are thousands of miles geographically, we are very, very close artistically. So this has been an absolute sort of pleasure to maintain that connection, and massive gratitude to Theatr Nanog and the British Council. So if we take that 8,000 miles, I guess we can go on to the next story now, by the wonderful Safira.
Safira?
Okay, thank you very much, Ioan. So yeah, that's the first story coming from Daisy, and it was such an honor for me as a young artist from Indonesia to take part in this project. And yeah, just like what Ioan had said before, that this festival by British Council under the title Culture Connects Us is the perfect way to describe that we as the part of this whole world are connected indeed. And with our project titled the Susur Jalin Tracing Threads, we would like to deliver message to everyone, everyone today, and everyone around the world, that we are connected just like the threads. If you saw the trailer of the project that have been showed before, it says invisible threads are the strongest ties. And indeed, it's the truest thing I have learned for the past few weeks, learning that even if we're miles apart and connected by technology, but we share this familiar feelings, this warm feeling that we are connected, that we are one whole threads that connected each other. And we will see one of my story today. It's a story came from the eastern part of Indonesia. It's a traditional story, and I would like to deliver several messages from the third story. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you will enjoy the upcoming of our project.
Thank you, Safira. That's a thoughtful message. And then before I go to Daisy, during the discussions for our fellow audiences, if you have something to say, the questions, please ask your question and share your comments through Q&A box on bottom down there, and then we will read them, bring it to discussions. And then Daisy, would you like to share us what you would like to bring through the Lost Land story?
Yeah, so it's based on an old story of Karya, so a city that was lost hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And sort of discussing with everybody when we started planning the project, it just felt like it fit with what we wanted to do, and to try and make that story contemporary and different. And I agree with everything Safira has said. And my favourite bit of the film was actually having Safira in the film, just because I think it's great, like another way we've connected between, you know, us over here in Wales and artists in Indonesia. And I think because we're all working separately on these projects, because we're all in different places, it's really lovely that we were able to have that moment in that story, and also with the trailer as well, to also have that poem to kind of connect us all in some way, because it's such a shame we can't obviously be together and sort of do this project in the same place. So that was a lovely way, I think, to sort of physically connect us, not just through the stories, but actually having little bits together. Yeah, so I think it was a really, really great project to work on, and definitely a challenge. It seemed like a better idea in June to film in the sea, and then when we actually did it in September, it was a little bit less of a good idea. But no, it was a lot of fun to do, and it's just been a joy hearing all your stories, all the other stories that are to come from the project.
Yeah, and we haven't said that each storyteller will speak with their own national language, or at least mother tongue. So Daisy and Ioan will deliver the story in Welsh, and then Safira and I will speak in bahasa Indonesia. For Ioan, why? Can you share why we decide to bring this in our own mother tongue instead of English, which is a universal language, as well as why we pick the storytelling as a way, as your background, you guys. Theatr is a actor, production, and then a lot of theater styles and genre of theaters performing arts. But why we pick this storytelling way to bring up this project?
That's a very good question, and I think the initial response to it is because that's our job as theatre practitioners, is to tell stories and to try and make sure that these stories have an audience. And I think working with the technology that we have had to do this year, it's probably a chance to reassess and to reevaluate and to think about how important the stories are, whether there is still an audience for stories, and perhaps the biggest challenge is how we can transfer the content of those stories to the audience. So the storytelling aspect, again, probably is because the similarities that we discovered, again, being in Indonesia in 2019 and realizing that the universal quality of stories is exactly that. It connects us, and the similarities as far as the creation stories and the concern for the environment and our planets and our futures isn't a new topic, but obviously the challenges and the way we have to deal with them is the new context for today. So that gave us the opportunity to explore that very, very quickly and easily. And as far as the mother tongue, Abdi, I think it's a case of Wales is a bilingual nation, and when we were in Indonesia, I think it again, trying to very badly until Safira was my tutor and made sure that my bahasa Indonesia was a little bit better than it was before, which is only a little bit better. But it did have that sort of realization of the importance of language, and also having the sign language to add that into it as well, which we did with one of the stories here with British Sign Language as well. And I think it's that expectation, isn't it? In Indonesia, if we were trying to sort of have a greeting or bagaimana kabar Anda or whatever we were talking about as far as going through something, there was an expectation that that was the courteous and the human and the connective and the way to proceed. Whereas for us in this country, we don't have the same sort of acceptance of language. And having the multitude of languages that you have, the richness of languages, the vast sort of resource that you have within the language in Indonesia is something that we have learned from and taken a lot of strength from as far as our bilingual nature in the UK.
Yeah, and and also when we had you guys in Indonesia, in Makassar, and then it actually shocked. We were shocked because you delivered you delivered long lines about Wallace as the beginning of the show in bahasa Indonesia as well as in bahasa Bugis and Makassar, and then that's really something like a sudden connected without any hesitations. And yeah, what do you think, Safira? Because you was there, and then you was also part of our creation process during our collaboration in Makassar when we produce. You should ask Wallace. Oh, Safira. Perhaps press the wrong button.
I think a signal may have gone.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure whether that's a good time to have Safira's story. If it's available, if somebody could cue that, that would be great.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Okay, guys, let's go. If you have questions again, oh, there she is. Again, if you have questions, hi. If you have questions, you can just drop it in Q&A box down there. Okay, Safira, thoughts.
Sorry, can you repeat that, Abdi?
Yeah, you was there when we developed the collaboration work with Theatr Nanok, the play. You should ask Wallace, a play about Alfred Russel Wallace, and then yeah, how do you feel? I mean, which through the storytelling, and then also as your encounter as a storyteller artist, and then also when we involve you in a proper theater project, as you already dreamed for years, like you said to me.
Okay, thank you. So the first time when I finally met Ioan on the latest project that was held in 2019, it was one of the most captivating moments because I realized that Indonesia people and Welsh people, we have a lot of things in common. We are the nation of voyagers. We are the nation of rich culture, and the Indonesian people and the Welsh people tell a lot of stories. That's one of the most interesting we have in common. And I believe that through this project, we deliver you the story through storytelling, because storytelling has been one of our richness of our nation, because our parents and grandparents and our great-great-grandparents have delivered messages to us through stories. If you can recall your childhood, you probably often hear the word pada suatu hari, once upon a time. And yeah, that's because our parents tells us stories and deliver messages to us through stories. So that's why I believe that this project will deliver the right messages to everyone through storytelling, because storytelling is one of the best method to talk to people, to have to encounter with people, to have this closeness to people. And yeah, it was great because we sometimes learn that Indonesia have a lot of things in common with our neighbor countries. However, Welsh is 1,000 miles apart. We're geographically very different. They're very far from here, but well, we have a lot of things in common, and that's very great. It shows us that this world works differently. This world works amazing.
Well, this has been different with the collaborative work in the past for Wallacea Week 2019. As part of the Theatr Nanok, Daisy, what what's are the challenge and opportunity of working together within 7,000 or 8,000 miles apart between Indonesia and Wales? Do you find interesting finding this? I mean, this way work together virtually.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think any opportunity to collaborate, particularly at this time, is amazing. And I'm just so glad that we actually were able to do it. It's that strange thing of you're collaborating but also working separately. It's like a weird kind of crossover because, like I said before, all of our stuff is sort of separate. We're filming it separately in completely different places, but it's got that common thread through it all, through common themes and common stories and common ideas. So I think in a way it's been quite easy because we have been separate and we can kind of, carry on, keep going and film all of our bits individually. But it is so different than if you were working on a piece of theatre and being in the room with people and kind of getting that energy from another person. As we've seen, technology, there's not fun moments where somebody's internet breaks, and they have to leave the Zoom conversation and then come back in. So there's all that fun technical sort of issues to deal with. But I agree with Safira. I think what's been so great is finding those common themes, those similarities between all of our stories. And maybe one week Safira's gone, oh, I'm going to tell you this story, and it reminds you of a story that you heard, but that's set in Wales, and vice versa. Ioan's story sort of chimes a memory for you guys, and I think that's just really lovely. And we have more in common than not, and I think that's really lovely.
And then hi everyone. Hi. We have few fellows, international fellows here. From different places all over Indonesia as well as Singapore, Europe, I think. Hi. Safira. You guys, Safira she's working now. She's living as a storyteller since she was born, because her parents is like one of the most intensive storyteller artists in Makassar. And Safira she's born there in that way. So how do you see this project?
Okay, so what Abdi said before was right. I have been telling stories since I can remember, and I have been as being a storyteller itself. I started when I was 11, and now I'm 20, and storytelling for me is the closest thing that we could see, that we could encounter in our daily lives, because everyone is a storyteller. You just need to pick what story you would like to deliver. Everyone is a storyteller. We are storytellers. And by this project, it is one of the closest thing, one of the warmest thing that we could have in this uncertain situation, where we don't know what would happen next, what would happen tomorrow. But I hope it is through our stories, through our methods to deliver you the message, you will feel the closest thing to your home, the closest thing to your old stories that you have heard since you were a child. And it's great because I met Daisy, Ioan, and Abdi, who have different methods and experiences on storytelling itself, and it helps me a lot.
Theatr Nanok, it's one of important national theater in Wales. And then, Ioan, as you've been part of Theatr Nanok for decades, and then you've been actually working more work like this, like a radio play for years.
Well, Abdi seems to have frozen, but the question, which made Daisy laugh, because I've been with Theatr Nanog for decades, I'm glad it's not centuries.
Yeah, I mean, this is the relationship with the students as the audience, because we know that the Theatr Nanog also concerned about educational, and then the students as the main part of the audience. And how do you engage these stories? How do you engage them, especially during this online?
That's a really good, and there's a question, and I know I might be jumping ahead, but sharing one sort of popular folklore from Wales, and we'll come to the Makassar one later, but it's probably the simplest one to look at within that is the actual title of the theatre company, Theatr Nanog. And Theatr Nanog is based on a mythological sort of land of the eternal young, and it's a Celtic as well as a sort of, it's not solely Welsh, but it's a Celtic concept that we have. And that's a great visual image for the potential students and the theatre audience, isn't it? That we all are young at heart. It doesn't matter how old we are or how long we've been working, but it's that sort of recognition of having a shared energy and a youthful sort of perspective on the world. And I think that's one of the themes that's come through as well indirectly through the stories, because Theatr Nanog is directly about that, of sharing stories to anybody of any age and anybody who's young at heart. And I think that's the important thing as far as the environment and the planet and our direct audience is concerned as well, because if we are to have a saviour and a future, and if we are to have a solution to the problem and the crisis we're currently facing, it has to be from that younger generation. So having them directly portrayed within the stories and directly sort of being the recipients of the stories, it's really important that it connects, and it's really important that they have the possession and the ownership of these stories, not just to be something that lives in a world of fantasy and fiction, but something that becomes their sort of reasoning and their ability to cope and to create solutions for the future.
Okay, yeah. So we had a questions from our fellow participants, from Fatima Shawi. What are the challenges in intertwining both culture into one story?
Oh.
Well, actually, we actually don't tie the story into one story, but we actually share the story, deliver the story with, bring our own stories as we allow ourselves to find what part intertwine us. Correct me if I'm wrong, Daisy or Safira.
No,
And
I
also,
think that's, sorry.
Yes, Daisy.
I was just saying, no, I think that's right. I think because we found so many similarities between the two cultures, it's actually been, the stories do connect between everybody, really. It's not been so much of a struggle to try and connect them, because they just naturally do. But like Abdi said, the stories are quite separate, but they, you can emote to them wherever you are in the world, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and then also, we also have our fellow British Council's team, British Councils in Indonesia, and then I think they also can join in our discussions. Hey, Anissa, would you like to say something?
Hello. The collaboration was really great. It's amazing that everyone managed to do it virtually while being apart, and some people here just met on the on the Zoom chat. Like Daisy, it's the first time that you met Abdi and Safira during the collaboration, right? So I feel like it's amazing that you guys are able to pull this off. Thank you.
Yeah, and how actually we start our project, this project, the Susur Jalin, is start with a guy called Alfred Russel Wallace. And Ioan, tell about him.
Okay. How to talk about Alfred Russel Wallace and keep it to under 12 hours. Alfred Russel Wallace was a Welsh explorer and a naturalist and a biogeographer and an entrepreneur and one of the coolest people the planet has ever seen. And he spent some time traveling initially in the Amazon, and then he spent 8 years traveling across the Malay archipelago. And that probably is the direct connection then with Wallace. But even though his experience is within the natural world, and he also did something which was discovering the theory of evolution. I mean, that was just one of his asides. And obviously people think of Charles Darwin within that context, but it's a joint presentation of the theory that was given to the Linnean Society by Charles Darwin and Alfred Russel Wallace. And I think within that, I'm sure he'd be absolutely delighted to think that his scientific work and discoveries have led to a theatre company from Wales going to Indonesia and forging new friendships and new relationships and new contacts. And I'm sure he'd be smiling very, very quietly and with a huge grin to himself at that prospect.
Any lines that you would like to share?
Well, from the show, do you know, Abdi, when you said about the bahasa Indonesia at the beginning of the show, I was thinking he's going to ask me to do that again to see if but I'm not going to go to that. I'm not going to put the poor people into that duress. But it is the wonderful story, and I think even within that, isn't it? You know, it's a scientific story, but it's still a story.
Yeah,
you know, it's about a man's journey. It's about his achievements. It's about what he actually managed to do during his time, his 90 years on planet Earth, and that sort of inspiration. And I have to say as well, I mean, the biggest thing about being in Indonesia with that production and looking at it was the transfer of that story from Theatr Nanog to give it to you to work with an Indonesian perspective, to have that ownership of the story, you know. And we looked at it from Wales's point of view as far as our admiration of Wallace. And I think it's really important that the story is told from your experience with the connections that happened in Indonesia with the local people, and have that ownership of the story as well. We have to have the perspectives that match rather than have it just from one sort of, even though it's a very sort of idealized viewpoint, it's nice to have it shared in a global sense.
Yeah, and then also it's really, we had a strong images as well as a strong energy when you brought this the introduction of the play in bahasa Indonesia and talk few words in bahasa Bugis and Makassar, and then the whole audience, the student always terima kasih, and then tabe everywhere, tabe this and tabe that, and that's really, I mean, it's unforgettable moment. But we have pop-up questions, and then this for Safira from Norinda Ihsan Nizar. Safira, please share your experience of accepting fellowships or internship as a storyteller abroad so that the other children or teenagers in Indonesia, particularly in Makassar, can follow your footsteps. Terima kasih.
Okay, thank you for the question. So for years that I have been a storyteller, wait, hold, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Clear? Okay, sorry about that. For a fellowship abroad, I have experienced one art residency as the delegation of Indonesia, where we took part in one of a festival in South Korea. And I guess the only thing that should be underlined is that young storytellers should do more. I mean, expand your connection, expand your experiences. Try to walk on that stage and do your thing, because the only thing that makes me coming at this point is that the people around me, especially my parents, have always pushed me through whatever the obstacle is. They always told me to, deliver your stories, be confident on your stories, and read more, read as much as you could, so you can learn your own culture, your own stories, so that you can deliver it to the people around you. And it's quite exciting because the whole journey finally made me to meet these amazing artists, Abdi, Ioan, and Daisy from Theatr, and it is, I think it's one of the greatest achievements that I have ever experienced. But I am still a very young learner that I should learn a lot more. So if my fellows young storytellers would like to learn more, you can easily contact me. I'm not going anywhere. I'm literally staying at home. You can contact me and we could talk and maybe share, and maybe we could create a little project for ourselves as well.
Yeah, maybe you can mention your Instagram or social media account later. And then before that, we will go to, let's say, as part of our your sharing. Then I think we can go to the second screening of the story, which is yours. And then this entitled "The Magic Beats of the Noi Tree." Let's go.
Jauh di sebelah timur Indonesia, tepatnya di tanah surga Papua, tinggallah sekelompok suku Gresi di Kampung Yansu. Kampung Yansu terletak di atas sebuah bukit yang dikelilingi oleh pepohonan yang rindang. Di sebelah barat Kampung Yansu terdapat sungai yang mengalir dengan jernih. Di sebelah selatannya terdapat rawa yang ditumbuhi sagu yang amat subur. Orang-orang di Kampung Yansu hidup berdampingan dengan kekayaan alam yang ada di sekitar mereka. Mereka memanfaatkan berbagai hasil hutan untuk kebutuhan sandang, pangan, dan papan. Meski demikian, orang-orang di Kampung Yansu hanya menggunakan seperlunya saja. Di tengah-tengah perkampungan, nampaklah sebuah rumah milik kepala suku Kampung Yansu yang dikenal dengan nama Yansu Meiram. Di depan rumah Yansu Meiram terdapat sebuah pohon yang amat besar dan rindang. Orang-orang Kampung Yansu menyebut pohon itu dengan nama pohon ngoi. Yansu Meiram merawat pohon ngoi dengan sangat baik setiap harinya. Ia melarang siapapun untuk memetik buah dari pohon ngoi itu.
Ayah, bolehkah kami memetik buah itu? Nampaknya enak sekali.
Tidak boleh. Tunggulah sampai buahnya ranum.
Lalu kami boleh memakannya.
Tidak. Buah ini akan bermanfaat untuk hal lain.
Memangnya apalagi manfaat dari buah selain untuk mengenyangkan perut? Ayah ini ada-ada saja.
Yan Sumiram merawat pohon ngoi dengan amat tekun. Ia bahkan mengawasi setiap burung yang singgah di atas pohon ngoi. Burung-burung tersebut antara lain burung kakatua, burung nuri, dan sepasang burung cendrawasih yang dikenal dengan nama Birds of Paradise. Waktu terus berlalu. Tak terasa buah pohon ngoi telah berubah warna. Tanda buah tersebut telah ranum. Yan Sumiram kemudian memerhatikan kelima buah pohon ngoi dengan teliti. Lihatlah anakku, lihatlah kelima buah pohon ngoi ini. Warnanya hijau tua dan ukurannya kecil seperti telur ayam. Anakku, mari kita petik buah ini. Yan Sumiram lalu memetik buah pertama dari pohon ngoi itu. Tiba-tiba tanah di sekitarnya berguncang dengan hebat.
Apa yang terjadi, Ayah? Tolong, tolong.
Ketika Yan Sumiram kembali meraih untuk memetik buah kedua, tiba-tiba guntur yang sangat besar menyambar pohon ngoi itu.
Aduh, aku kaget sekali.
Yan Sumiram kembali meraih untuk memetik buah pohon ngoi yang ketiga. Tiba-tiba hujan yang amat deras turun di kampung Yansu. Angin bertiup sangat kencang ketika Yan Sumiram memetik buah keempat.
Aduh, Ayah, hentikan. Jangan memetik buah itu lagi. Hentikan, Ayah.
Ketika semua buah pohon ngoi berhasil dipetik oleh Yan Sumiram, retakan di tanah akibat guncangan tadi kemudian terisi oleh air yang sangat banyak. Yan Sumiram lalu berlari masuk ke rumahnya dan menyimpan buah pohon ngoi itu dengan hati-hati. Ia yakin bahwa suatu saat buah-buah pohon ngoi itu akan bermanfaat bagi dirinya dan bagi anak-anaknya. Suatu hari, Yan Sumiram menugaskan anaknya Ihwenam untuk menyampaikan pesan kepada kepala suku di kampung sebelah. Pergilah anakku, seberangilah 2 bukit dan 2 lembah, lalu kembalilah pulang kepadaku.
Baik, Ayah. Aku akan berusaha dengan baik.
Ini, bawalah 3 buah pohon ngoi ini bersamamu. Ia akan membantumu. Ia juga akan membawa kau pulang kembali dengan selamat.
Mana bisa buah pohon ngoi melakukan itu, Ayah?
Bawalah pergi bersamamu. Jangan kau hilangkan dan jangan pula kau bersikap rakus. Berhati-hatilah anakku. Ihwenam lalu memulai perjalanannya. Ia menyimpan 3 buah ngoi pemberian ayahnya di dalam sebuah tas kecil yang terbuat dari anyaman pandan. Ketika Ihwenam memulai perjalanannya, kini ia telah melewati 1 bukit dan 1 lembah. Ia merasa amat letih. Ihwenam akhirnya duduk di bawah sebuah pohon matoa yang amat besar dan rindang.
Aduh, panas sekali. Aku juga merasa haus dan lapar. Lihatlah buah-buah matoa yang nampak enak ini. Akan kumakan. 1, 2. Enak sekali.
Ihwenam lalu memakan banyak sekali buah matoa. Ia makan lagi dan lagi karena ia takut nanti akan merasa kelaparan di perjalanan, meski perutnya sudah kenyang.
Sekarang aku merasa haus, tapi nampaknya di sini tidak ada air. Oh, lihat, apakah itu sebuah akar pohon yang menggantung? Wah,
Ioan lalu berjalan mendekati akar pohon yang menggantung seperti tali. Ia memanah akar pohon itu dan seketika pohon itu mengeluarkan banyak sekali getah. Ioan lalu meminumnya untuk melepas dahaga.
wah, segar sekali.
Ioan lalu melanjutkan perjalanannya. Kini ia telah melewati 2 bukit dan 2 lembah. Namun ketika Ioan menginjakkan kakinya di lembah kedua, tiba-tiba sebuah sumber mata air muncul dari bekas pijakannya. Ia berusaha menghindar, namun sumber mata air yang lain muncul di bekas pijakannya pula.
Dari mana asalnya air ini? Aduh, aku harus kemana?
Ioan merasa ketakutan karena air itu terus bertambah dan bertambah hingga nyaris menutupi seluruh lembah itu.
Aku harus lari kemana? Tolong! Aduh, nanti aku bisa tenggelam. Tolong! Oh, itu ada sebuah pohon. Hap!
Ioan lalu memanjat sampai ke puncak pohon itu. Ia melihat ke sekelilingnya dan mulai merasa kebingungan.
Dari mana asalnya air-air ini? Kenapa ada banyak sekali? Tolong, aku takut. Tolong.
Ioan duduk di atas pohon itu selama sehari semalam. Ia mulai merenungkan nasibnya dan berpikir bagaimana perjalanannya harus terhenti akibat genangan air itu.
Oh, aha! Ini pasti karena ulahku yang ceroboh. Aku makan banyak sekali buah matoa, meski aku sudah kekenyangan. Aku juga telah merusak akar pohon. Saat ini alam pasti sedang menghukumku. Maafkan aku. Aku bersalah. Sekarang aku harus apa?
Ioan lalu merogoh tas kecilnya dan menemukan 3 buah pohon ngoe pemberian ayahnya.
Apakah buah pohon ngoe ini benar-benar bisa membantuku? Kita coba sajalah. Wahai buah pohon ngoe, tolonglah aku. Jika aku melemparkan dahan pohon ini ke atas air dan dia tenggelam, maka aku akan tenggelam. Tapi jika dahan pohon itu tidak tenggelam, maka aku juga tidak akan tenggelam.
Ioan lalu melemparkan sebuah dahan pohon yang besar tempatnya berlindung ke atas air. Ajaib! Ternyata dahan pohon besar itu tidak tenggelam. Ioan lalu melompat ke atas air dan berpegangan kepada dahan itu. Ia berusaha mencapai pinggiran lembah untuk mencari pertolongan. Ketika sampai di daratan, Ioan merasa amat bersyukur karena alam telah memberikannya 1 kali lagi kesempatan untuk melanjutkan perjalanannya.
Wah, akhirnya aku selamat. Tapi sekarang aku harus ke arah mana ya? Semuanya kini nampak sama akibat genangan air ini. Aduh. Oh, aku akan meminta bantuan kepada buah pohon ngoe. Wahai buah pohon ngoe, tolonglah aku. Tolong tunjukkan arah yang tepat agar aku bisa melanjutkan perjalananku.
Ioan lalu melemparkan 3 buah pohon ngoe itu ke atas tanah. Ketiga buah itu lalu menggelinding menyusuri lembah. Ihawenam berlarian mengikuti buah pohon ngoi. Ia kemudian sampai ke tujuannya. Setelah menyampaikan pesan ayahnya kepada kepala suku kampung sebelah, Ihawenam lalu pulang kembali ke kampung Yansu. Ihawenam lalu menceritakan perjalanannya yang penuh pelajaran kepada ayahnya.
Wah, ayah benar. Buah-buah pohon ngoi ini memang sangat sakti.
Anakku, jika kau mempercayai sesuatu, maka hal tersebut akan terjadi. Sama pula halnya dengan buah-buah pohon ngoi ini. Jika kau yakin buah-buah ini akan bermanfaat, jagalah ia, maka ia akan menunjukkan manfaatnya kepadamu. Perjalanan Ihawenam dengan manik-manik sakti pohon ngoi sangat berkesan bagi Ihawenam. Sejak hari itu, Ihawenam berjanji bahwa ia tidak akan bersikap rakus dan selalu berusaha menjaga keseimbangan alam. Ia yakin bahwa manusia merupakan bagian dari alam, sehingga manusia harus menjaga alam dengan baik seperti manusia menjaga dirinya sendiri.
Yay, terima kasih Safira. That's a story from Papua, eastern part of Indonesia. And then also, as we presented the first screening that was delivered by Daisy Williams, and that was about Welsh, Celtic, or I don't know. Forgive me if I'm wrong. Daisy, as we've mentioned before, this project encompassing the themes of languages and diversity and the lessons to the past to protect our planet and each other, right? As an artist, what was your creative process in reflecting your surrounding and the state of the world today to bring up this work?
Is that for me, Abdi? Sorry.
Yeah,
sorry. Or Safira.
Yeah, that's Daisy. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So I live in Cardiff, and in particular during the pandemic, the amount of rubbish on the streets, and with the additional people wearing masks, gloves, it kind of grew overnight. And so using the story of Cantref Gwaelod as a way of, these people from this old city to come back and help the people of today to tackle, like, that's only one problem, but to tackle those things that are destroying our planet, just felt like a great match. And also, like you said before, Theatr Nanog works with young people, and just seeing their work that they send us is phenomenal. And so I wanted to use some of their work in the story as well. So the last is like a 30-second bit at the end of the film, which shows the stuff they've been doing to tackle climate change, climate protests, the school strike, their own work, their own research. So I just sort of wanted to combine the place where I'm living myself with an old story about a place that has been lost to the sea, and then also look to the future, look to the young people that are there doing the work, and just kind of sort of say, well done, like, you guys are the future, literally, and what they're doing is great, and just to carry on, and I suppose make adults accountable for, as well, because we've seen, people like Greta Thunberg and young people taking a stand, and I feel like they shouldn't have to. There should be enough adults in politics, in power, and just generally to do it for them, but unfortunately that's not happening. And I think that's something that inspired Ioan as well a lot with his story, that idea of that young person to kind of lead the way for change, I suppose. I think that answers your question. Sorry, I went off. But I think just connecting all those was just sort of my aim. And just make it something that young people would want to watch in a different perspective, because Cantra'r Gwaelod was a story that I heard so many times in school when I was younger, and I didn't just want to repeat it. I wanted to develop it and change it, but it still had that story embedded in it as well.
Thanks, Daisy, and everyone. Now we are at 8:06. I think we can provide few more minutes for if fellow audience would like to have another questions. You can drop it now. But Safira, can we go to your story? What was about?
Thank you, Abdi. So the magic bats of the Ngoi tree, atau manik-manik sakti pohon ngoi, is originally written by Siswanto in 2016. It was a book published by our Ministry of Education, and I rewrote the story to make it simpler to deliver through storytelling. It was a story about one of the most famous messages from the parents in Papua, where they told their children to preserve their nature, to save their nature as how they preserve their own self, how they protect their own self. That's why at the end of the story mentioned that we humans are indeed a part of the nature. Thus, we should take care of the nature as well as we take care of ourselves, because we are the part of it. Through the story, I would like to deliver that, I would like to show everyone that we have our own role in this world. We lived until today and meet today because we drink the water from the earth, we breathe the air, we eat from its ground. Thus, we as humans have our own part of our own role. And through the story, I would like to show that we should take part for that role. We should we should do our part. We should take part to preserve the nature, to walk on this world not only as just people who use its resources, but also people who preserve it. And I hope through this story the message delivered well to everyone who watched it. And I guess that's why this story also took part in this project, because I would like to show that to everyone that the old stories from the past that our parents have told us is actually still relatable in our situation for today. Indeed, it is even more relatable if we're looking at the situation that we're facing right now, the pandemic, the global warming, the social issues that we have faced today. Everything that our parents and grandparents told us through the stories in the past is still relatable until this day. Thus, we, as part of this project, Susur Jalin, would like to ask everyone who watched this project to deliver your own stories to the people around you.
Okay. I think as we've already got a lot of support from British councils through this initiatives, artist to artist connections, institution to institution collaboration, either in let's say in most part of in Indonesia, it's we've already worked together and British Council already kindly support. I would like to open mic for one fellow artists from Asia, from Singapore, which we also develop work together, collaborative production within a program of UKID couple years ago, and then he's super talented director from Singapore, my fellow brother artist Ethan Chia. Hey bro.
Hi bro.
What's up?
What's up?
Go on.
Looking good with the beard, mate.
Yeah.
I was just I was curious about how do you guys see cultural collaborations moving forward in the future? Because over here, like I think particularly in Singapore, the move towards digital has been quite automatic. It was the first choice, and I sort of like look at that and acknowledge it, and then also I can't help but consider what are other ways that as artists, as cultural creators, programmers, what more can we do besides moving digital to help in our local communities and building a cultural infrastructure? What do you guys think?
Yeah, Ioan.
Oh yeah, and I think during the sort of the time that we've had during 2020, there's a lot of talk naturally about restrictions and postponements and cancellations and making things impossible. But I think we have to keep an eye on the fact that this is an incredible opportunity.
Yeah.
And in that same way of having to redefine the industry, having to reassess, to go back to the beginning, the biggest thing for me is not to think about specific projects, but just to make sure that within that technology, we still have a human connection. And that is the thing that I find really inspiring. Also, that we don't have to create the air miles and the pollution and everything to make that happen all the time, you know?
Yes.
And I think that's a really big thing, but it really has made that community that we have. And as I said at the beginning, you know, the culture connects us is such an apt title because it really is that. And perhaps now we have a conduit, we have an ability to talk, share, have an empathy with people wherever they live and whatever their background, and we're not dependent on anything else other than energy and goodwill and sustenance and a determination and a generosity of sharing the work. And I think that's incredibly exciting.
Yes, I agree. I think that this is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to diversify our practices. We get to try new things. We get time for ourselves, time with our family, which we previously used to never have because we're always in rehearsal. Right?
Yeah, that's you. And then also with the years, you know, struggle with the ideas of the questions, what theater is, and then it's like we are like we pretend like we are the craziest person on the world of the theater questioning this. Who are we? I mean, how dare us, you know? But you know, during this pandemic, there was one moment and which like there is a sudden twist and make us realize it. Actually, everything started from storytelling, which is the simplest way of deliver something, and then that's the first encounter for language through our mother, through lullabies, you know, and then more as artists. I mean, I'm working also as a director and a performer, and you know, too much options. How to deliver things, how to deliver stories, and then this pandemic is like, okay, stop thinking too much, stop move too much. Still, it's already there. You know, storytelling, you already have it, and you already embodied since you were kids, since you were a baby. You know, lullaby, and then in a baby swing, and then this is the option. This is why we also bring up this storytelling project as the project to connect us, and then also these thoughts bring us to one of my teacher says his name is Robert Wilson, and then he always said the importance of culture. And then he said, when we lose our memories, we lose our culture. And then how we keep our memories, I don't think there is other way to keep our memories through storytelling, right? Yeah. Okay then. Yeah, thank you, Ethan. So see you around again, bro.
Cheers, buddy. Call me.
Yeah, sure. Stay well and safe, and don't forget to wear mask. Wash your hand.
I got batik mask now,
Yeah.
bro. I have 6 of them, bro. For real.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
See you.
Okay. See you. Yeah. Oh, 8:16. I think. We should. I'm sorry. We would like to share more, but yeah, time framed. So I would like to have Ioan before we close. What do you wish to happen in for the future of this project? I mean, if someone asks, what can we expect the continuation of this project, where we can access this project?
As far as the access, we will make sure that we have links put up and hopefully sharing them on sort of social platforms, including YouTube. They'll be available via the Theatr website, which we will sort of make sure that you can have a link to it from any of the posters. Have a look, go through the stories. The wonderful thing about them is they are all very, very different. And that was deliberate as well, wasn't it? You know, not to be prescriptive, not to say, it's not a commission. It's not saying you have to fulfill this brief. We've all had an opportunity, which has been great, just to sort of do any story in any style. And I particularly think that's one of the strengths of it. And as far as the future, let's not put any parameters. Let's not put any boundaries. Let's not put any lines through that invisible thread of an ocean we have on a tapestry between Wales and Indonesia. Because if we do that, we might limit some of the potential that is there naturally. I am absolutely convinced that there will be something, but I have no idea what it is, and I'm really excited by that.
Yeah. Okay, terima kasih banyak, Ioan, and Daisy, and Safira too, and our British Council team, as well as our lovely interpreters. Hilarious. You are both artists. Thank you. And then, yeah, thank you everyone for a lively discussions and yeah, that we have. It was very delightful to discuss, to reflect on the work that we are working and elaborate more on what we can do in the future. I hope all of the participants enjoy the screening and discussions as much as I do. We will share more information and the content about our work through Theatr Nanog Instagram, Theatr Nanog, TheatrNanog. Or you can stay tuned in British Council website or British Council social media at ID British and ID British Arts. Before I end these sessions, I'd like to ask those in attendance to help us by filling the evaluation form, filling it in. There will be a URL and QR code coming up on the screen. We will leave the room open for the next few minutes so that you can fill in the survey. It will mean a lot for us to improve in the future. Once again, we hope this has been an enjoyable evening for you all, and we hope to see you again in the future, in person or virtually. Stay safe and well. Thank you.